Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Renny Show. Hello, Jenny. How are you?
I'm good-ish. Thank you, Reg. How are you?
Well, I'm probably good-ish too. I think we've both had, with your house move and my broken ankle. It's been an interesting
It's
old
been a
time.
week
It has been a week, yeah.
or a
Um,
fortnight or
yeah,
3 weeks. Or it's
yeah.
been
It's
life.
been a
Life
while.
has happened, folks, listeners, watchers. We make no apology for life happening, but we're still
Yeah,
here. We
absolutely. We're always here. We always make it at some point. Now, full disclosure, as always, because you know us, we're just completely honest about all of it. This show was meant to go out live last week, and as Jenny has just said, life just happened, and yeah, things had to be put on the back burner for a bit. So we're recording this one to stick out as soon as possible, and then we'll try and get back to our normal routine for the following episode onwards. But we'll see, because life. We'll see what happens. But
exactly.
you know where you are with us, because it's live and unfiltered, and you get what you see is what you get. So it's one of those things. But hopefully that's why you all love the show if you're listening. So here we are for our latest episode, and I guess we might as well dive straight in. Quite a topical one for me. So I'm going to ask you, Jenny, have you ever broken a bone?
Well, that's a really short answer, and the answer is no, I
Oh,
haven't. I've been incredibly lucky.
mm,
So no, I haven't broken anything. Mugs mostly.
yeah.
But my two of my children have broken bones, so I have been involved in the pain and the um, uh, sort of immobility.
Yes.
My youngest fractured his collarbone,
Oh gosh,
which is very, yes,
that's
playing
very
rugby,
painful. Yeah.
playing touch rugby.
Oh.
So no touch was involved, but anyway,
Yeah.
so that was really nasty. And then my eldest son um, broke his tibia. I think it was his tibia, just
Okay.
above his ankle,
Mm,
in the middle of the sort of football season. As a footballer and cricketer,
yeah.
that was tricky. But
Yeah.
yeah, personally, I haven't.
Right.
And I'm rather glad I haven't, because it sounds incredibly painful, and it kind of gets in the way of, as we said earlier, of life, doesn't it?
It does a little bit, yes. So obviously, as we know, I broke my ankle a couple of weeks ago, and what I have realised since is, if thinking back, do you remember I broke my little toe last year, and it was at a very funny
Yes.
angle? Yeah. And whilst that was quite painful, it didn't feel like a proper break, because it's the tiny toe, and it didn't feel like anything that was worthy of saying it's a break, even, almost. Whereas a broken ankle, it just sounds a bit more substantial, doesn't it, and sounds a bit more serious. I'm very pleased to report it's not actually been completely terrible in terms of pain. It's not been as bad as I thought. Obviously it hurt when I did it, there's no escaping that, but the worst pain has been the other leg, which I grazed really badly as I fell. That's caused me far more pain and massive inconvenience, in terms of I can't cover it up, can't wear clothes on it. But yeah, that I would say overall it's been the inconvenience, because I'm wearing a boot, using crutches, and I obviously have to be careful about how much I do, and elevate my leg a lot, and do all the sensible things to look after myself. So it's made life a little more challenging. What's been lovely is, some of the kindness of strangers. As soon as they see boot and crutches, they offer to hold the door open, or things like that. And I've had some lovely conversations in the street with some of the more mature, shall we say, members of our community, as I'm walking about slowly, and they were walking too. And so I've had some lovely conversations with people in the village, which has been nice. But yeah, it's a great big inconvenience, quite frankly. But it could have been worse. It really, really could have been a lot worse. So
when you described it,
I'm
it could have been a lot worse. Lucky in inverted commas, because it could have been worse.
Yeah, absolutely. But how much of an idiot do I feel for falling off a path? We'd been stand-up paddleboarding that morning. That's where you'd think I might have perhaps hurt myself. No, on the walk from a nice lunch at the cafe to the car park, and I fall over and break my ankle.
And that's kind of the definition of accident, isn't it? It's not,
Yeah.
it's not done on purpose. Doesn't happen. It's unexpected.
Yeah. Very unexpected and quite unwelcome, but yes. It's been okay. And being waited on is quite nice. It's frustrating at times because I'm normally like to do lots of things myself. And I've had to, take the opportunity, listen to the universe and slow down. Maybe that was a message that needed to happen anyway, So
well, that's so interesting, because as regular listeners will know, Rachel and I prepare our questions completely separately, without any collaboration or interference from each other. And the first we get to know of the questions is at the point when they are shared live on the program.
Yeah.
And so often they kind of dovetail beautifully. So my first question, interestingly, is how do you know when it's time for some self-care?
Ooh. Okay, that's an interesting one, and I'm sure I'll probably say that every time you ask a question, but I think it is an interesting one, because the first thing that springs to mind for me is the fact that with some of the things I've been through, I consider myself very self-aware in terms of my own well-being and when things are slipping. But even then, it's not always easy to remember to factor yourself in as much as you perhaps ought to, or to notice the signs, because we're very good as human beings, aren't we, at just trying to carry on and thinking, well, we've got these things going on, they can't not happen, we have to carry on. So I think for me, in terms of knowing when it's time for some self-care, it's when things start feeling hard emotionally, when I start to feel down, and the self-doubt creeps in at its worst level, and the mood can feel difficult because it's low. I mean, I suppose that you could say that's the most obvious sign or symptom, perhaps. But yeah, I think because I was just chatting to some people about this yesterday on a business mastermind. Generally, I'm a positive person, and again, I think that's why we align, because you're really positive as well. And I think there's a danger sometimes in that, because we're so positive, and that's our natural way to be, to just say, well, it'll be okay. I trust that it'll be okay. And there's a difference between trusting it'll be okay and then pushing yourself too far and then ending up in a really bad spot where things just feel even worse, and you need to ask for help, and it's gone further than you'd like it to, which usually then means it takes longer to recover as well. So yeah, mood is definitely something I look out for, but I will put my hand up and admit I'm not, even now, not always the best at admitting that straight away. So maybe there's
there's a note. We were talking just before we went live about you walking home from the garage, when actually it would have been sensible,
yes,
given your broken ankle, to ask if anybody could give you a lift. or to get a taxi. But you did that thing, which is what you do not. Oh, I'll just walk. But
Yeah.
it wasn't just to walk with crutches in a boot. So I think we're all. I think we're there are many of us who I think would resonate with the fact that we have that carrying on is almost
Yeah.
seen as a badge of honor, isn't it? And I
Yeah.
know that I have definitely, however self-aware you are, there is definitely that societal pressure to make it all look easy.
Yeah.
Multitasking, the biggest, fattest lie on the planet.
Yeah.
um Multitasking, bigot, no, rubbish, absolute rubbish.
Yeah.
We weren't designed to multitask. It's a complete myth that we've all bought into, and we
Yeah.
congratulate ourselves on being able to spin 15 plates, and then we beat ourselves up when 3 of them fall on the floor. And it's like, no, we've all been sucked into this nonsense. So I
Absolutely.
think there are many different signs, aren't there? So you talked about mood. For me, it's biscuits.
Yeah. Agreed.
When I
Resonate with
find
that.
myself thinking, oh, I can't, I haven't had lunch because I've been busy. Or what can I
Yeah.
have? Oh, I'll wait till dinner time because it's nearly there now. And then I think, oh, but I could do with something. Oh, I know. I'll reach for a packet of biscuits, that my secret stash that I keep at the back of the cupboard. Um, so I know that when I'm um it, when it's time to take some self-care, it's when you're looking for comfort in the wrong place, I think is the
Yes.
way that I would describe it. So comfort in the sense of, you know, um, yeah, biscuits, um, not not stopping, not sitting still, over pushing.
Yeah.
So those are often signs, aren't there? I also I find my I'm quite equable most of the
Yeah.
time. I don't I give people a lot of rope
Yeah.
um, before I get cross, except with drivers who don't say thank you when I let them in. Um,
Yes. There's no excuse for that.
no, but apart from that, I'm quite equable, and I'm quite easygoing. And I notice that's one of the things that I notice suddenly gets considerably shorter when
Yes.
I'm in need of some self-care. So that's a real when I go, oh, that was a strong reaction. It's like, oh, wait a minute, what's going on? Um,
Yeah.
I think there's, yeah, I think there, oh, that's a sign.
Yeah,
Um,
I'd have to agree there, to be honest. And I think perimenopause probably doesn't do me any favors there either, because yes, I do find myself being perhaps a bit shorter than normal sometimes. Yeah,
and my nails. So it's my treat to myself
yeah,
because it's an hour when I am forced to sit still.
yes,
My hands are out of action,
yeah,
so I can do nothing except sit and relax and talk about shiny nail colours.
yeah.
And when I notice that my nails need doing, that's another sign. If all of a sudden I think, oh,
Excellent.
goodness,
Yeah,
was it only yesterday? I thought I only had them done yesterday, and somehow it's 3 weeks. It was 3 weeks ago.
yeah,
So I use my nails as a vanity marker
yeah.
for
Good
oh,
idea.
actually, it's time to sit still.
Yeah,
Time to sit still for an hour in peace and tranquility with nice music,
yes,
and somebody else looking after me.
yes, yes. Absolutely. I like that. I like that a lot. Okay, right. Well, my next question for you then, Jenny, is what is your favourite moment from your summer this year? And you can have more than one.
Oh, oh, that's quite tricky. Um, Favorite moments. Um, so some of what turned out to be favorite weren't intended to be favorite. If that
Okay.
doesn't sound um odd.
Yeah.
So my one of my favoritist moments was a 4-day period when I was left in sole charge of one of my grandsons
Yeah.
while their mummy and daddy went away for a well-earned break. And it was just him and me, and the
Awesome.
sunshine shone, and we just had the most amazing time. I was absolutely exhausted by the end of it, but it was such a joy to
Yeah.
be in the presence of a small 3-year-old who all that curiosity and
Yeah.
endless energy and questions and story time and snuggles and what's that for, why does that do that, all of those things. It was just a joy.
Yeah.
So that was really lovely. I then had 2 days with my eldest granddaughter. We went to the Natural History Museum in Oxford and spent hours looking at treasures and fossils and life-size models
Yeah.
of diseases. Just fabulous.
Awesome.
And we went on the bus, and it's I think the opportunity to spend time with your with your grandchildren, or your children if they are of that age, where when they are and seeing the world through their eyes,
Yes.
is such a thing.
Yeah.
And it was wonderful. So that was something that was really special. And the other highlight of my summer, which is the one that doesn't maybe at first glance sound like a highlight, was the friends that I had to come and stay with me to help me sort out and pack up my house.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I am an emotional I have an emotional attachment to all objects in my house.
Yes.
So the thought of packing them up and clearing them out is quite a
Horrendous.
thing. Just and so I am incredibly fortunate to have friends and family who are less emotionally attached or not emotionally attached at all to my stuff.
Yeah.
And they came and were really fierce. Were really
Brilliant.
were really fierce in the sorting process.
Yeah.
Um, and it was absolutely fabulous because I absolutely and utterly acknowledge that I couldn't have done it without them. Well, I probably could, but it would have taken a lot longer,
So much longer.
and probably wouldn't have been as efficient or as effective. So my local charity shops are brimming with all sorts of treasures and clothes that no longer fit and all of those things. And so it was a highlight, although it was emotional and
Yeah.
it was quite hard. But we had a great time doing it, and I never felt anything less than supported, even
Yeah.
when they were saying, "No, Jenny, no, just
You
no.
don't need
Put it in
this.
the. You do not need it. Put it. Let it go. Let me have it."
Yeah.
Even when we were doing all that, I never felt less than supported. And knowing that it is done, and that I have created a load of space, and that the things that I have let go of will be meaningful in their turn to somebody else.
Yes.
And that brings me joy. So those were my two kind of chunky highlights of the summer.
Oh, I love that. Brilliant.
What
And I'm
about
so
you?
glad you had that support. That's really good. Because I'd be the same. I've got better over the years, but I'm still terrible at hanging on to things. But yeah, I mean, there were a number of favourite moments over the summer. We did have a couple of weeks away together as a family that were just brilliant, filled with fun, so many amazing things. But there was one moment that, when things are just come together, you don't think they're going to, but they just come together. Well, we'd gone to Paris for a few days, and it was a specific trip organised with PGL, which means you've got set things to do on set days, kind of thing. They give you the itinerary. And the day that we were going into Paris sightseeing, we were looking at what things we wanted to see, and I'd said I'd really like to go and see Notre Dame Cathedral. you know, I saw it many years ago. I think on a school trip, possibly. But it's a place that really means a lot to me and my mum and my two girls, because it's the scene or the setting for the musical Notre Dame de Paris, which for my mum and I, and I've probably mentioned it on the show before, is one of my absolute favourite musicals, and it really means a lot to us. And once we didn't know till we got there which day we were going into Paris, so we couldn't really book too much in advance for our sightseeing. So it was very last minute when we were trying to get things booked, because some things you can just go and do, some things you need to book. And it is free to get into Notre Dame, but you're supposed to book. So when we went to book, there were no tickets left. And my heart sank. You know, this was like the night before. And my heart sank because, you know, that musical is really special to my girls as well. So the fact the four of us were together, I was really gutted that we wouldn't be able to go. Hindsight, I actually realised you can still get in. You just have to queue for ages. They have a set number of free tickets where you can just walk straight in at a certain time. But I didn't know that at the time. But anyway, as we were on the coach into Paris, I just thought, I'm just going to have another look. You know, just vainly hoping that something was there. And I got onto the website, 2 p.m, tickets available. What? Oh my God, meant to be book. You know, kind of do it as quickly as possible. And I was just so excited. And, you know, because I hadn't expected it to come together, and it did. And then when we were in there, it was actually quite emotional. Now I would say I'm spiritual rather than religious. But there is something, you know, that feeling you get when you walk into a place like that, whether you're religious or not. I think it's perfectly possible to feel very, you know, spiritual.
It's a sacred space, isn't it? It's a sacred space, whatever your religious conviction or not.
Yeah, really is a sacred space. And so it was just really magical to get to go in there and to see all the beautiful stained glass, and to just spend time in there, you know, reflecting, but doing it together as a family, which made it really special.
And it's not been open. It's not been reopened that long, has it?
Oh no,
since the fire.
Exactly.
So it's not. You know, it wasn't that long ago, really, in the grand scheme of things, that we wondered whether it would ever be rebuilt.
Exactly. So, and there is still some scaffolding all around one end. So they haven't completely finished, but yeah, you know, the very fact it was open at all was amazing. And then we were able to get in. And what was also really nice is not long before, well, this bit isn't nice, but not long before we went away, a really good close friend of my brother died very suddenly. And you know, the girls and I paid to light candles while we were in there, and I lit a candle for Adam, and, you know, had a moment of reflection. And I'm gonna set myself off. So there were so many things about that day, deep breath, that just felt super special, and like it was absolutely meant to be, because I was honestly so convinced it wasn't going to work out, and then it couldn't have worked out any better. So it was just such a special moment. And I had to I'm one for collecting fridge magnets from our travels anyway, but one of the magnets you could buy had the giant, you know, because it's got two really large stained glass windows, hasn't it, on the, you know, the east and west ends. And so there was a lovely fridge magnet with that on, but it actually says on it Notre Dame de Paris, because obviously that's the correct name of the cathedral, but it's also the name of the musical. So I'm like, well, I just have to have that. So that's now on the fridge. So yeah, that was awesome.
Oh, really, that's lovely. And it is that thing about, as they were said earlier on, isn't it, that trusting the process, and trusting that what's meant to happen will happen. So I love Paris. It's just a wonderful
Oh,
city, isn't
beautiful place. Beautiful place. We loved it. Yeah, so much fun.
So my second question is, how much do you care or worry about what other people think about you?
Ooh, okay. I mean, the first thing that springs to mind is that can be a bit changeable. I think the overall message for me on that is that these days I'm not half as fussed as I used to be about what people think of me. And that's all the usual things. It's self-awareness, self-love. All the inner deeper work that you do to get to know who you are, to really work out what your values are, and to be living a life that's aligned with your values and what you want and all the rest of it. But as with all things, perfection doesn't exist, does it? So it's not possible to be in a place where you don't worry about what people think about you. And there's been a couple of things recently when things just felt really busy, and I did potentially worry a bit. Don't get me wrong, I didn't lose sleep, but I did have some thoughts about, what does that person think if I don't do this? Because at the moment I can't, or perhaps maybe shouldn't. And of course, it's that feeling you don't want to let people down. You don't want people to feel bad about you or to think bad things about you. But as I was saying in a workshop about this the other day, those that matter and are your people will understand. And I think this is where the difficulty comes, where we feel a responsibility to act a certain way towards certain people. I think quite often it's family, but sometimes it's not. It might just be people you're involved in an organisation with, for example. And they maybe don't take no for an answer, or they don't understand where you're coming from. And even the polite, I'd love to help, but I'm afraid I can't at the moment, and this is why. And when that isn't then respected, well, where do you go from there? Because you are going to worry, because some people sometimes don't get the message. But I think, well, I know I worry a heck of a lot less now than I did years ago. I think also there's something about age that impacts that as well, because I think when we're, say, in our 20s and we're in the first throes of whatever career we're in, maybe marriage, maybe children, there's so many new things going on, and for most of us, we probably haven't discovered personal development by this point, so we're not as aware as we are as we get older. So I think the kind of the wisdom of age definitely helps, but I think when you throw into the mix the self-awareness and the self-love and being able to be at home with who you are, whatever that looks like, loving and embracing the dark and the light of who you are, then I think it puts you in a much stronger position to be able to not worry what other people think. But I also think, we're all human, and we can't help but have moments, like we were saying earlier about the times when things are just feeling a bit tough and we maybe need to ask for help or implement some self-care. Those are prime times when we're potentially going to start worrying about what other people think, when actually, what's that phrase? It's something about what they think of me isn't my concern, or something.
What other people think of you is none of your business.
That's the one. And that's an important thing to try and remember. But of course, we're all human and we all have those moments, don't we? It doesn't quite feel like
yeah, absolutely. And I'm always, I think growing up, we grew up, me earlier than you, but we grew up without that relentless battering. We had magazines that told you should be this or that or the other, and we had the odd TV programs, but there wasn't the relentless relentless kind of in your face social media,
Yeah.
where there's always somebody telling you, you know, it might just be every now and then I get a little slurry. I use that word intentionally. Slurry of what people over 50 shouldn't wear. 10 hairstyles for the over 50s. You know, makeup you shouldn't wear when you're this age. Don't wear this, don't wear that, do this, don't do that. And I was like,
Yeah.
what? I'll do what I'll wear what I like. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
I don't need to be, but that it is relentless, isn't it? In
It is.
the
It is.
um and I've been part of a project, interestingly, called Beyond the Mirror,
Yes. Yes.
which where the book is launching.
Oh,
I'm a co-author. The book is
exciting.
launching at the end of the month,
Oh.
and that is about women,
Yeah.
50 different women who have all had that journey of self, you know, coming to love who they are,
Yeah.
acceptance, and you know, honor the body that they've been given, the life that they've been given, if you like. And it's a beautiful book, and it was such a joy to be part of a project. Incredibly emotional, because lots of people have had a really tough journey to
Yeah.
that self-acceptance, and I think we do spend an inordinate amount of time worrying about what people will say about us, what people think about us, and then we worry about if people don't say, well, what if nobody notices? What if I've made all this effort and nobody notices?
Yeah.
What if I don't get you know, what if I don't get trolled? Does that mean I'm not successful because nobody's trolling me?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, all of those. So I think it is something to think about, isn't it? And to be mindful, almost on a scale of 1 to 10, you know, how much does it matter? And if you
Yes.
find it, back to that, if it's a bit like a barometer, if you
Mm.
find that all of a sudden it's things start to matter, what other people may or may not be saying about you matters, then maybe it's time just to have a little bit of self-care. Back to the second one, that
Yeah.
just where are you up to? What's going on? What
Yeah.
is it that's you know, that's bugging you?
Yeah. And I think that's a key question to ask yourself is, you know,
Mm.
how much does it actually matter? Because we can get easily quite tied up in what other people might think in any given scenario that we're in at the time. But if you know, take a step back from the situation, you know, is it people that really matter to you, for one? And if it's not, then kind of what you get your knickers in a twist about, you know, do I need to be feeling like this, you know? But yeah, I think that's quite an important question to ask ourselves when we're thinking about that. But again, I think it's a very
You know,
natural.
quarterly.
Yeah.
Not every day, but just that kind of every now and then. Oh, am I getting sucked into that I must do
Yeah.
it like everybody else? I
Yeah.
must be, or maybe I shouldn't, you know, maybe I shouldn't, I don't know, wear a bikini because I'm over 40, or whatever it is that, you know, is your thing. You know, there are millions of different things, aren't there, that we
Yeah.
should or shouldn't be. And that this isn't gender specific. Men have the same, you know, they
Yeah.
have the same issues, just different. I think they probably have different things that people point out to them,
Yeah.
and they probably don't get pointed out as much as you know, fashion in women. But
No, no,
it isn't
possibly
that
not.
we're saying it's not. It's people specific.
Yeah.
So it's a good question to ask.
Yeah.
About how much does it matter? Because it's very easy, as you say, to get absorbed, super absorbed by what other people think.
Yeah, particularly in this age of social media where, you know, keyboard warriors are very happy to make all kinds of comments,
To tell you, yes.
you know, and you
Yeah.
think, well, okay. Yeah, we'll just ignore that and walk on
Well,
by.
moving swiftly on.
Yes. Right. Okay. So my last question for you then, Jenny, is have you got any top tips for coping with September? Because I think for a lot of people, and I know we've discussed this before, I think for a lot of people, myself included, September, because it's, you know, end of the school summer holidays, that's one reason that September can feel like a period of transition. We're also seeing changes in the weather, and people are starting to talk about Christmas. I mean, like the amount of Christmas stuff in the shops. Wow. I couldn't. Wow. I was in a shop today very briefly and just couldn't quite believe how much Christmas stuff was in there. So September often feels like a bit of a transition. You know, I often see it as a bit of a new start because it's the end of the summer holidays and then it's time to get back to it and crack on for finishing the year strong, kind of thing. So have you got some or any top tips for coping with September, whatever the thing is that needs to be coped with?
Well, some interesting thoughts. I'm not sure they're top tips, but they're interesting thoughts. I have always fought September previously, because I'm not a huge lover of autumn.
No.
And even less love winter. I'm a sunshine girl, and it's the light. It's essentially the light for me. That so when it gets dark, you know, earlier, and it isn't light at 5 o'clock in the morning, that's the kind of, I get a bit of a sinking feeling, and I say, oh, the light. I need the light. And I think for many people there is that transition. So there's kids going back to school, but there are also young people leaving home to go to university.
Gosh,
and that is a huge wrench. And even it was a long time since mine did it. And even now I can, you know, that it's a huge transition. And I think for many there is that real mixture of excitement and joy for their new adventures and utter desolation at the end of an era. And it is only the end of one era and the beginning of another. But it's hard, it's tricky. And so I'm very mindful of that. And I think so there's that thing around giving yourself some time, so acknowledging that stuff. So this year I've been really intentional about acknowledging that September can be a bit tricky. And that I made a conscious decision to think about the positive things of September. So things like plums and apples and fruit that you can do, jam, you know, things that you can do. So it's that positive things about September. And in Oxfordshire, we've been quite lucky, is that we've had a few days where it's been showery, but it's been warm. So it's like getting out into the daylight. So making the most of the daylight when you can, and thinking of positive things that you can do. Do you know, I obviously haven't been near a shop because I've avoided anything vaguely Christmassy. So I'm all right with that. Well, I love Christmas, but I think it's that acknowledgement for me, is acknowledging that it might be tough. What can you do? So being kind to yourself. And, you know, you mentioned earlier about loving the dark side of us and the light side. And I had an interesting conversation with a very wise woman, therapist friend of mine. And she said, you know, often our shadow side, the dark bits, are just simply emotions that we've put in a bag because they're too hard to deal with. So whatever that is, whether that's disappointment, sadness, grief, betrayal, whatever those are, they're just emotions because we just put them in a bag. And so of course they're in the dark because we haven't looked at them. And September can feel a bit like that for me. So I thought, what if I took it out and looked at it and went, September, it's just a month. You know, there's many positive things about it. And I think that being kind to it, mellow fruitfulness. Being kind to it and yourself would be my top tip for coping with September.
Excellent, love it. Yeah, couldn't agree more. And I guess the thing I would add is don't be alone with it. Whatever that looks like for you, you know, because talking per se isn't always the step that people need. There's other things as well, but don't be alone with it. You know, I've got friends whose kids are going off to uni, and obviously emotions are, you know, massively heightened. You know, period of transition for my two, because I've now got one in sixth form and one that's just started at secondary school, and you know, those transitions can be problematic in terms of friendships and sense of belonging, and you know, finding where they fit in and all the rest of it. And I think not being alone with it, doing what you need to do to get, you know, that right sense of connection, to find someone that understands, whether that's talking or, you know, whatever it might be. But definitely not being alone with it and not internalizing
and sometimes
it.
sometimes just asking, how did anybody else feel, you know? And I certainly had a friend who I couldn't, when my eldest went to uni, he did obviously go to America, so it was quite a long way. And I was really pleased that he was going, because it was what he wanted. But I couldn't talk about it without, if anybody asked me, I was just like, and it was really tricky. And a really good friend of mine said, "Oh, just letting you know that pain that you have in your chest isn't a heart attack. It's all right." She said, "Nobody told me." She said, "I nearly went to A&E because I thought I was having a heart attack." And it isn't. It's just your heart. It's just your heart breaking, and it's okay. It isn't breaking. You'll be okay. But I'm just warning you. And those things are really helpful for people who've walked before you. And there are many who have walked before us in lots of different ways, aren't there?
We're never alone, are we?
So
Not really.
not unless you choose to be. No, absolutely. Yes. There's always somebody who can, you know, who can go, "Oh, yeah, it's tough. It's hard."
Yeah. Brilliant. Oh, thank you for that.
So my last question, it's a jolly one. You know, I do a Tuesday on a Tuesday, and so Heather Small has come into my mind, and my question is, what have you done today to make you feel proud?
Love that.
Nice.
What a song! What a song! It was great hearing that, or seeing her perform that live when the Lionesses came back to London, wasn't it? That was brilliant. Gosh, what have I done today to make me feel proud? That's actually a tough one, because the first thing that springs to mind is that I've probably done a bit too much today in terms of walking on my broken ankle. So I'm not proud of that.
Isn't there something that you launched?
Yes. Oh goodness, how could that not come to mind first?
I thought I was giving you I was handing you that on a plate.
I know, couldn't have been more obvious,
Rach, and it's like.
Yes, I have to say I am immensely proud, actually. So for anyone that hasn't seen any of my social media posts, I have finally completely changed and relaunched my membership, which I tried to launch 2 or 3 years ago, and I didn't really know what it was about. I didn't know what I was really trying to achieve, and my heart just wasn't in it. So it never went anywhere, and it just kind of fell by the wayside. And this year I've done so much work on really getting to the bottom of what I want from my business, and why, and you know, what I want it to look like, what I want to create. And this feels really special. It's all about creating community, which is something I just want to keep building on and building on and building on in various different ways. And I've got various different plans, but I'm super, super proud that this has all come together in about the last week. You know, there's been a lot of thought gone into it before then, but sporadically here and there. But over the last week, I've paid a lot more attention to it and did the work that was required, put it all together, said I was going to launch it Monday, and then I did. So I was like, oh, get me, pat on the back. I did what I said I was going to do. But even better than that, because there's a special offer for the first 10 founder members, and I have 3 founder members already on day one, which, yeah, woo! I'm super
proud.
Oh, thank you. So I'm utterly thrilled, because I just think this can really be something that's quite central to what I do in terms, you know, I've been building audience and tribe for quite a long time now, but this feels like a really significant part of that. So A, to have done it at all, and B, to have had some immediate success, then yes, I'm immensely proud. I feel great. Thank you for asking the question. I'm getting it out of me.
Hooray!
Oh,
I'm really proud that I asked a question.
Yeah, so you should be. Oh dear. So what have you done today, other than being proud of asking the question? What have you done today to make you feel proud?
I've done a few things today that I'm proud of. I had a coaching client this morning who had a particularly tricky, a thorny problem that she that she wanted to explore, and explore it we did, and they went away with a really clear idea of what their next steps were, and that when you're a coach, that always you know, when you finish a coaching session, and your client says, that was just so helpful, and I you know, I know, and it's like, yes, you know, I could and that's the joy of what we do, isn't it? And the wonder
completely.
of it never ever fails to make me proud. And then the next thing was that I volunteered to make some cakes for my friend Sarah's book launch tomorrow. Her book is published tomorrow, and she's got her book launch, and she was going to buy some cakes. I said, well, you don't want to be buying cakes. And she said, I can't bake. And I said, well, I don't, all my baking stuff is packed. But if I can come to your house and do it, then I'll do it. And so we had a lovely morning. Well, I had a lovely morning. We had a lovely morning making cupcakes, 100 cupcakes. Actually, 19. I think there was 98 because we ate one each.
I think that's fair enough.
You have to test in the interest of testing, don't you? Quality control. So I'm very
it's a public service.
I'm very excited about her launch tomorrow. So Sara Southey, if anybody's listening,
I was just going to say, is it Sara Southey?
Yeah, awesome. It's Sarah's book tomorrow. So if you're not on the waiting list to get a copy, then please look her up. Sign it. There's lots of posty things. It's a fabulous book.
We'll put the information about Sarah in the notes for the show. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, and it's a roadmap for life. So don't we all need one of them?
Absolutely.
So I'm very excited about that. So I was proud to be able to help, and proud that everything worked in somebody else's kitchen and in somebody else's oven.
Awesome. That's brilliant. Well, I think that's a fantastic way to end the show, talking about cake, quite frankly. In fact, I'm about to go off and have a piece of cake, although it's not homemade. Sorry. Although the youngest did make cookies yesterday, so you know we do have plenty of homemade too. But
there you go. You see, so they're all right. So let them eat cake.
Yes,
Let us
indeed.
all eat cake. Let them eat cake. To misquote somebody else, 2 people.
Fantastic. Well, so that brings us to the end of the show then. So if you're listening, don't forget to give us your comments and questions. If you've got anything you want to tell us about what you've listened to today, then let us know, because we love to talk, don't we, Jenny? And we love carrying it on. So yeah.
And please subscribe. If you're not already subscribed to our podcast, then please subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can find us in all the usual podcast places. So please subscribe, share the love, tell everybody about us. We could do with a few more listeners, shouldn't we? We could do with a few more.
Absolutely.
So tell your mates,
yeah.
And tell us what you would like. Tell us what you would like us to talk about. We're always interested in your questions. So if you've got any questions that you would like us to discuss, we put them in a hat and we draw them out. So we still won't know until the day which is which. But yeah, until next time.
Yes. Well, we'll see you. Well, if you're listening as a podcast, we'll see you in a fortnight. If you're listening live, we'll see you in next week, because we're a week behind, aren't we? We're a week out of schedule, but that's fine. That's fine, because life.
Oh, excuse me.
So yeah, take good care of yourselves, folks, and we shall look forward to seeing you next time.
Till then, be inspired, be brilliant, and stay safe. Bye-bye for now.
Bye.